Welcome to another episode of Timeless Business and Building Strategies. Today I have Sam Rockaway. He's with Redcom Design and Construction. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sam.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here.
Yes, sir. So, a quick background on yourself, Sam. So, you guys right now are located in New Jersey. Could you kind of give us a background about yourself and how you got into construction?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I born and raised in New Jersey, went to school and everything here. Been married 35 years, have three kids. And after college, I owned a body shop for many years, for about 15 years. And while I was owning my body shop, I attended college, put myself through school. And then around, I guess, the 10th year of owning the shop, I sold the body shop and then went to Johnson& Johnson to work at corporate, was a complete change. And that's where I really learned how to sell, because I had to deal with company presidents at the operating companies and get them to agree to certain comments on reports, which was very difficult. That's not really my personality. So 9/11 I was flying around the world at the time. 9/11 had happened. I was in a tower a week before, and I just decided to move on to do other things. Didn't really have a plan. I knew cars, I knew automotive, so I sold insurance specifically to car dealerships for about a year, and that's how I met the owner of Redcom. The same day I met him, he asked me if I wanted to work here in the construction industry, and I had no idea what construction really was. And 4 years later, I said yes to him, and it was the best decision I ever made. And professionally, I've learned a tremendous lot. I've grown, and we've doubled the size of the company in the last 14 years.
That's amazing. Now, all right, so let's kind of go through. Thank you for that. That's amazing. So, that's a great transition in there. So, Redcom didn't start out as Redcom. So let's kind of walk through there. So Redcom's been around since 1982.
Correct.
So could you kind of walk us through establishment and kind of give us a background on the company?
Yes. So Redcom was founded by a person named Jim Reddington. Jim Reddington has a son and a couple kids, and Greg Reddington is one of them. So Greg is Jim's son, and Jim was running the company, doing a great job. He had 4 employees, and Greg took over the company, I think, in '92. He graduated from Rensselaer with a degree in structural engineering. He worked outside for a little while independently, and then came in and took this over. And right away, he built it up to about 9 or 10 employees. When I got here, there was about 12 employees here in 2011. So I sold for Greg a little bit before I actually took a job here. And then,
Okay.
and then, so that's what we did. So we have in-house engineering, we have in-house architecture, and we have project managers that could combined, we could take a project from concept to completion. And then my role, I was tasked with business development. Greg really wanted to just be an absentee owner. So Greg spent 2 years with me. I sat in his office. I shared an office with him. Everything he did, I did. Everything I did, he came with me. And he's a pretty intense guy. So it was definitely a tough 2 years. I was like, oh my God, did I make a mistake? But like I said, I love it. And I love Greg, and he's been great to me. And so Greg, after 2 years, took off, went down, whatever he did. He moved to Italy, he did this, he did that, and he would check in periodically with us. And we then decided to build a company by essentially just, doing the right thing for the customers and going out and seeking new business in the lines that we were already in. So Greg had established our markets, which at the time were institutional, so private schools and religious facilities. Industrial, so industrial would cover large industrial buildings, warehouses, logistics companies, light manufacturing, heavy manufacturing, or flex space. And then automotive dealerships. And that's what kind of attracted me, because I understood that business very well.
Mm-hmm.
And we design and build car dealerships. And it's a very complex process. It takes a long time, and it involves the brand, and it involves the owner. And the brand has one mission, and the owner has another mission. And somehow you have to make it work. A car dealership is no different than a franchise like McDonald's or Burger King or something else. It
Right.
will have to be the same color and the same kind of shape, but the site dictates the shape of the building and what you can and can't do.
Absolutely. So, something that's intriguing here. So there's not everybody integrates, and so vertically integrating with any business, that it's great when you can do it. It's a challenge, and you have to have a lot of business established to pull in-house design engineers for civil
Mhm.
engineering and then architecture. So it looks like you guys have built long-term relationships. So one of the good things when we talk about car dealerships, you guys, it looks like you do Toyota, right?
Oh yeah.
Toyota dealerships. So, you get the Toyota dealerships, and then you guys travel around probably and do Toyota. Once you do the new design, then they have to do refreshes like any other franchise, basically. So then you guys, once you've done that initial design, have the file, you can go help them with the refresh. So it's repeat business.
Right. And the brands come out with new images probably every 8 to 12 years. And the other interesting fact is if a dealership is sold, and there's a lot of sales, there used to be over 600 rooftops. We'll call them rooftops, a dealer, like a
Hmm.
point. Sometimes they're referred to as a point, a shingle, or a rooftop. Used to be over 600 of them in New Jersey. Now there's around 500 of them, and it's through consolidation. So whenever there's a buy and sell transaction for a dealership, a franchise, only new car, not used car, a new car dealership,
Hmm.
the brand looks at the image of the facility, and if it's not compliant with what their expectations are or what their requirements are, they most of the time will have that dealer sign into that contract that they will get that brand, that image upgraded over, it could vary. So say 1 to 4 years, something like that, but they have to commit to doing it.
Yeah, and those can turn into a lot of money. So that's a lot of opportunity for you guys. And so when you guys were niched down in this, and so normally the success and when you start to really scale and build this up, and it sounds like when Greg took it over from his father, that's kind of what you guys did. You honed in, niched down, and really started to scale with your sales techniques. Now, not business development one is one thing. So when you're going out, what all are you just continuing to try and pursue and grow those relationships? Do you expand your territory? How do you go find new clients?
So when I first started here, I honestly had no idea what I was doing. All I did know was the customer is everything, right? Without a customer, we have nothing. And at the end of the day, I work for Redcom. So all I have is my word. So those were the two things that drove me. And I had an architect that has been here at the time 20 years. I had the head of construction, and I had our most senior engineer, site civil engineer, and our head estimator. So let me take a step back. With those four guys, when I came here, Greg used to work about 6 or 7 months a year, and then he would spend the rest of the time with his family. So he would go out, get some projects, come back, give them to everybody, and then he would go off and do what he wanted to do with his family. And then when they were ready to be sold, Greg would jump back in and go sell the deal. The team that I was given was hungry. Everybody here was hungry for leadership. They were hungry for work, and they had positive attitudes. So by me showing up, these four people listened to me. It was very intimidating for me because I didn't know the difference between a TPO roof and a fully adhere roof. I had no idea what I was
Right.
talking about. So they came around to all the meetings with me. They helped me. They, I opened the door and they kind of went through the process until I figured out how to do it on my own. So I had a great team. So what did I do? I just essentially, I looked for associations that we could be a part of. So NJ Car in New Jersey is an automotive association that we were a member of at the time. So I became active in that association. I
Hmm.
became active in the industrial association, and I became active in the school organization for private schools, the NJAIS. And I went and I met with the presidents, the KDMs, the key decision makers, the board members, and essentially just drove around for a year, knocking on doors, trying to meet with people, saying that we're out here, we can help you. We could do a concept, we could do a free concept, we could do a site analysis, we could do a feasibility study at no cost. So if you're looking for property, call me. I'll help you. I'll tell you what your yield is. I'll tell you what you can and can't do on the site. That's what I did. And after a year or so, It started to pay dividends.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is a big help. And for you to offer that service for free, I'm sure that was attractive. A lot of when you get into the design build, you really have to help these people understand when they look at a piece of land, they don't know what it costs to build it. They don't know any of these things. So when you go in and help somebody, that can really establish a relationship, build trust, and build the sale. And, when you're doing it from that perspective, you're not normally even having to go through any bidding process. So you guys
Right.
eliminate 99% of your competitors once you do it that route. Let me ask you this. So when you guys are finding and you're out searching, do you use a CRM, or how do you operate as far as keeping up with new clients, building on a lead and then maintaining the lead so you don't lose track of your client?
So when it was just myself here, so when I first came for the first 6 years, it was just Sam Rockaway here and the architects and engineers. And I used to use a board, like a dry erase board for my leads, and then
Mhm.
there were too many of them. And then I used an Excel file, and then the Excel file was too cumbersome. And I work with engineers, so everyone's an engineer here. So they all have ideas. So we kind of engineered a sales process, and we decided to get a CRM when we use Salesforce, which is probably more than we need, but
Mhm.
we customized it to have the ability to rank a lead, and we put our sales process. I meticulously wrote down our sales process. So we have a sales process that covers three stages: stage one, stage two, and stage three. Stage one are prospects that I mainly deal with. And I go out, find, cultivate, bring them in, and I put them into our CRM. I'll make a note to follow up with them, or what have you. And then there's stage one. If anybody else in the building besides me works on the lead, it becomes a stage two because they have to track their time. So the estimator, so hey, I need a ballpark. Hey, I need a concept. Uh, Roberto, can you hand sketch me an elevation? I'm trying to put a deal together. Can you hand sketch me a floor plan? Um, so that now is stage two. So with stage two, our sales cycle is about 2 years, and a stage two will sit there until we do a proposal. And if we get the opportunity to do a proposal, once the proposal is presented, it becomes a stage three. So really, the professionals are back the engineers and architects are back out of it, and it's
Mhm.
back into my court.
So you don't touch it through stage two, and then stage three, once the proposal's been submitted, then it's for you to keep up and try and
Yeah.
secure the project.
I mean, I don't touch it in stage two because I'm not an architect and I'm not an engineer, but I've been doing this for so long now. I will sit down with them and, uh, if I have an idea, I'll share it with them. And sometimes, 90% of the time they have all the ideas, but occasionally I do have an idea. I mean, architects and engineers are very talented people.
Now, do you guys what softwares do you use construction wise? Do you incorporate Procore, or do you have self work
Yes.
software? What do you guys work on?
No, we use Procore. We use Sage and Procore for our software, for our finance software and we use Bamboo for HR related.
Oh, okay. Bamboo.
Yeah.
And which Sage operating system? They have Intact now, they have 100, and they have 300, which is the old Timberline.
So we have a brand new Sage system. So I don't know.
Oh, okay. That's probably, if it's the cloud-based one, it's the Intact. So they're moving a lot. Have
So
you got
we have a lot of technology here, and we've always been a believer in having the latest and greatest technology, whether it's a computer, an iPad, a cell phone, or software. And that's really from Greg.
Yeah, and it's critical. Procore is a great project management software, and if your team, if you can set it systems in place and your team uses it, you can use it for safety, project manager, all the reports, RFIs. It's a great way, and architects love it. They work with it, so it's kind of universally adopted. So it's a great software to work with. Do you guys incorporate any? Have you tried to incorporate any AI for automation of any of these processes to date?
Not at this point, but we are looking into it. What we have incorporated just recently. So our architects use Revit. We've gotten
Hmm.
away from CAD. We use Revit, and we also use, I may pronounce this right, a Matterport to measure buildings. So if we want to go out and measure or understand the existing conditions of a building, we use what looks like a survey tool. It's a Matterport. It's a camera that does a 360-degree
Hmm.
shot of everything in a building. And now, from what I understand, is that the estimators, that'll give the estimators the takeoff and quantities automatically of
Is
the
that right? I
area.
was not aware of that. I think it reads it with like a LiDAR style technology, but yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, so that's a great little tidbit. I wasn't aware of that. So it'll do the little takeoff piece on it. So all right. So and then what are like some of the bigger challenges that you guys see in? Are you guys looking to continue to grow to another level? Where's the long-term view here?
So over the last 14 years, we've doubled in size, and it took that long to do this. So we, I don't know if necessarily want to grow too much.
Hmm.
We expanded out into New York. At some point, we had an office out in Long Island.
Hmm.
We have completed projects in Long Island, like big projects, ground up dealerships and as such. We've
Hmm.
also done 6 or 7 ground ups in Manhattan.
Okay.
It's large as $150 million.
Wow.
And then we've done them in Connecticut, we've done them in Maryland, we've done them in Delaware, Pennsylvania. So, and we were up to 85 people at one point, and it just got too much. We're, as the crow flies, we're probably 10 miles from New York, and it's mainly me. And I'm saying, look, guys, I'm going to drive by 1 million people to go out and try to sell something that's 40 miles away that takes 3 hours to get to. Let's
Mhm.
not do that. Let's just stay here in New Jersey and let's try to just focus on the 8 million people that live in New Jersey. And if we can't make it here, we're not going to make it anywhere.
That is smart. So could you give an idea? So what is your guys' annual revenue as a company right now, roughly speaking?
70 million.
70 million. And so that are you guys are trying to stay at and around the 70 million mark?
Yeah, 60 to 70 is fine. We're happy with that. What we're trying to do is be more efficient in the way we build. Let's try to shave some time off of projects.
Hmm.
Let's do buyouts better. Let's be more selective with some of the projects we take. We're careful with what we take. It's a huge commitment to sign up a 10 or a 20 or a $30 million project. You're committed to that person for years.
Right. And what you guys have created, and it sounds like you're in the position where you can select that client because you're exactly right. You select a bad client, that's a 20 and 30 million. I mean, that is you're basically married to this person for 2 to 3 years
Yeah,
of time. So if
even more.
right, right. And then thereafter, right? And so, when you select these, you have to be very careful, and it's very difficult for some, you guys are obviously very well established. So other people that are trying to get to this level, um, you know, that's kind of pie in the sky, hard to even relate to 20, 30, $40 million projects, you know when you're trying to level up to those next levels, it's a challenge because you don't have that experience a lot of
Mhm.
times. When you started and you were selling some of these things initially, had you guys already been doing the size projects you were selling, or were you having to, help and build? I mean, if you did $150 million project, that probably was a reach, right? Or beyond your level? When you were selling, were you going beyond your level, and how did you approach those?
So that you're right. That was way beyond our reach, but that was for a family so we look for clients that want to develop. We don't look for clients that have one project and they're going to go away. We look for clients like particularly like in the automotive industry. Most auto dealers, like say Roger Penske, he
Hmm.
has, I don't know, 100 stores, something like that. Ray Katina here in New Jersey, he's got 20 or 30 stores. Open Road has 20 or 30 stores. So we look for those type of clients where we can really provide them with the best long-term value. The free ice, the free concepts, the free architectural schematics, talking with the brands. So that's all the value to those folks. So that's what we look for. And then this particular family, we probably done 10, $15 million a year for this family for 10 years of work. And they had a project in Manhattan, and this is how it came about. And only because we've been working with them for 10 years,
Mhm.
we were comfortable enough getting involved with a construction management type job for $150 million. And believe it or not, that building, that dealership was built on top of a FedEx building
What?
that couldn't close down. FedEx doesn't close down.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was a beast from day one, but it went well. It took a couple of years, but it went well. Would we do it again? Probably not, but it went well.
So give me, if you could, in all of your years, what do you look at as your biggest accomplishment that you have here at Redcom?
I think my biggest accomplishment, like without the team that I have here, I'm not any good. So I got to give a lot of credit to the team. It's definitely my team that helped me be this successful. I guess the biggest accomplishment is we've been able to keep 50 employees here, maybe 55,
Mhm.
employed with health insurance. They all have families, and everybody's having a life and growing, and you get to see their families come in and grow, and that's a good feeling. We don't lay people off because we don't have any work. That's my biggest accomplishment. Now, project size, I could say I sold a 20 or $30 million, but I get the most enjoyment out of knowing that there's still work and everyone's got a job.
That's right. And to be clear on this, that's because if you don't have sales, you don't have anything.
Right, yes.
So you are, one of the main factors in keeping everyone employed. So, you can't do the operations, you can't show all the beautiful things if somebody doesn't sell something, right? So
Yeah, right.
nothing happens without the sale. That's great.
Yeah, right. So
Um,
it's very meaningful to me.
so what are your company's core values? Do you have that? Do you have an established core values for you guys?
Yeah, we have core values. Collaboration is definitely one of our core values. Fun is a core value. Vision is a core value.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you guys, when you hire, and I understand this isn't your department, but when you guys hire, do you use any type of trait surveys or personality tests to determine whether someone would be a proper fit and have those core values, or how do you guys determine that?
Yes, we do. We do a cultural interview for them, and at the same time, we do a disc assessment. And the disc
Okay.
assessment really we don't really use as a personality tool, but we use the disc assessment to understand how they naturally work at their job and what's their unnatural work habits. And then we meet them, right? A lot of people meet with the person.
Hmm.
It depends on the position, but a lot of people meet with them and get a feel for it. And then there's five of us on a team. There's five senior uh, managers. I guess our titles are senior vice presidents,
Hmm.
and we meet and go over it and try to, it's not just do they have a nice personality. It's their work history, their skill sets, and a lot that goes into it.
Okay. Do you now with the when you have 50 people, do you have a training program on your team, or do you only hire experienced people?
So that's it. So I am responsible for sales, right? I am not responsible for construction. I'm not
Right.
responsible for estimating. So we have a construction department, an engineering department, and we have an estimating department. No, so estimating and architecture and engineering go to two gentlemen. HR falls to one person, and construction falls to one person. So I worry about my sales team. You know,
And how
if
big is your sales team?
I have five people.
And how long have they been there? Like, what's your longest tenured employee?
Uh, 3 years on the sales team.
Okay.
It's very
Uh,
difficult to find salespeople.
yeah, I was going to say, so, how are they paid? Some different, there's different configurations on the business development side, industry wise. Do you guys work on a commission only basis based on revenue volume of sales, or how do you guys work?
No, we don't, there's no, you don't, if a salesperson here goes out and sells a job for whatever it is for $5 million, there's no commission that they get out of that. It's just not, it's just not conducive for that in this type of, in this business. There's a bonus program that everyone is a part of in the company that's, driven off of our revenue.
Yeah,
Or
that's
net.
how we do it
Yeah,
the same way.
yeah, and
Yeah, some do that though. Some have the business development guys. They pay them 1.5%, 2% of revenue.
yeah, we
Oh
don't.
yeah,
It's too much. And the other thing is this, you can't sell somebody something for 5, 10, or $20 million. It has to be a well thought out decision that involves a team of people. No one,
right.
no matter what, you can't sell it to them. It has to work financially.
Yep. Yeah, and it's typically a lot of negotiation back and forth. And the disadvantage when you're doing that is you typically don't have control whether the deal goes or not.
Right. No,
Yeah.
we do a pro forma for every customer we have based on market rents in the area. So if they're putting an addition on and they plan to rent it out, we'll do a pro forma for them, and we'll look at rents, that recent rents, and we'll this way that'll tell me if our price is in line. It could still be high, but it may not be too high. As long
Mhm.
as the deal pencils and we give them the payoff times and we take into consideration all the variables that would go into a pro forma. I have a dedicated MBA here working here, and that's what she does. And she does other things too, but that's one of the
Mhm.
things she does.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is a tremendous benefit that you offer. Do you guys ever, when you're doing that, partner in on the deals when you're doing that? Has your company ever partnered in with developers on the projects?
Yes. So we do two things. We do construction, right? That's our primary source of revenue, but we also buy land.
Hmm.
So we buy land, we get it approved, and then we sell it. And sometimes when we buy land, we would buy land with someone else. Sometimes we'll do a JV, but the same goal. We're going to build it and we're going to sell it. And sometimes we hold it. So we have a couple that we're holding and they're leased out.
Fantastic. So where are you guys looking to be in the next 5 years? So you based on what you're telling me, you're staying just in the New Jersey area because you've expanded way out and now you've kind of pulled it all closer, right?
Mhm.
So is the goal just to maintain and stay in that realm, or is there any major pursuits you guys are going after? Any additional automotive industries that you really have your goals set on, or do you see a rise in your industrial division?
I think so. A couple questions there. The industrial division, because of interest rates are so high. I don't know if you're from North Carolina, I think, right?
Yes, sir. Hmm.
Yeah, we're here in New Jersey. So if you drive along the New Jersey Turnpike over the last 7 years, there have been millions and millions of square foot of warehouses built. Some of them are as large as 1 million square feet, and some of them are 100,000 square feet, but there's a lot of them. Now, and that's because of the internet, Amazons, and all the transactions that have happened and they continue to happen. But interest rates, as soon as they started to go up, the REITs that generally buy these facilities, they look at it differently than us. If their square foot price is off by 50 cents, they're going to pause and they're going to wait, unless their basis is good. So it's just a math problem at this point for those folks. And then
Hmm.
the users the mom and pops, like the mom and pops that have a $20 million warehouse, they're not really mom and pops, but they're small companies. They'll buy 50 to 100, 150,000 square foot buildings. They're still out there doing it. right now, but it's just based on more like where their employees come from and where their homes are and how long does it take them to get to their office. On the automotive side, it's driven by brands. In the schools, they're decimated, and they're not decimated, but they're ever since COVID, the private schools, they're all trying to get students. So it's all about how many students they have and what type of projects they want to do. But
Hmm.
we're looking to grow and to expand our residential work in multifamily.
Okay.
We're looking to acquire more land, and we're looking to get into life sciences. And that's pretty broad, life science. That's like saying,
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, could you expand on that a little bit?
right.
Yeah, what specific area in that? What would that look like?
That's a good question. So we're going through that process now. So I can tell you what we're not going to do. We're not going to try to build a hospital. We're not going to try to build, anything over $40 million. We'll probably have to partner up with an architect that really understands that market.
Yeah. So do you, and I haven't heard you speak much. Do you work still? I know you said school systems. Do you work with any local government? Do you guys bid any work, or is it only design build
No,
that you
we do
foresee?
bid work. We do bid work, and during my tenure, we used to only sell it as design build jobs. So if we could not, in New Jersey, you need a site approval to build something. And
Hmm.
if you want me to talk about that, I can. It's a very complex process, and it takes anywhere from a year to 2.5 years, depending on
Yeah,
what outside agencies are involved.
I would love you to go through that, how you guys do your feasibility study through that, if we could get kind of on a high level for somebody to understand it.
I can, but I'll finish this design build question. So we used to only sell design build jobs where we took on the site approval, the architecture, and the construction. But it was very difficult to price up something that was going to be built in 3 years. So at some point, and people would take advantage of the free concept work that we did, because this was all for free until they signed a contract. So we started to separate out the engineering and architecture and just give them consulting agreements, right? For a very competitive price. So we do engineering. It's not really, it's design build, but it's engineering with a separate contract. So if they're not happy with us, they could walk away. Anytime we'll give them the plans. Architecture with a separate contract. But again, if they're not happy, they could stop. If they just want to use us for architecture, they could do that. And then while we're going through the approval process, if they're happy with us and we're meeting their expectations and we're happy with them as a client, then we'll try to convert that opportunity into a project and start talking about, like, all right, what's it going to actually take to build this project from a budgeting standpoint, timing, and have discussions and move the ball forward. That's what we like to do. And no one's handcuffed to anybody anymore. It's just, you don't like us, go ahead.
Right, because obviously, when you're going through these iterations, you're starting with a complete budget. And when you talk at this long timeline, that I would love you to go through a little bit more. We're looking at that long timeline. You set that initial budget, the market is moving, got tons of
Yeah.
commodities, everything, just like we're going through now with tariffs. You don't know, there's a moving target. So the deal might work when you initially run a budget, and then it doesn't work when
Right.
you're 8 months down the line.
Right. So I'll talk about the site approval process in New Jersey. So I'm not sure what it is in other states, but I just signed up a $10 million contract for a very large dealership located out of another state, because they found us online and they sent me an email and said, "Hey, I'd like you to bid this project." So I got on the phone with them and it said, "Great. What's the status of your approval?" And their answer was, what approval? We have permits, which they didn't have, but we have building permits. You can't get a building permit without a site approval.
Right.
So once I understood that they didn't have a site approval, I explained to them what was needed, and that's how I got the job. So in New Jersey, if it's raw land, you obviously need a site approval. If it's an existing building and you're going to change the footprint in any way, shape, or form, you need a site approval. Like, even if you just add a canopy, you're gonna need some kind of an approval for that. So let's just take a raw piece of land, or you're going to take an addition, say at 40 or 50,000 square feet. It doesn't matter what size it is. It can be 5 million square feet or 10,000 square feet. It's the same exact process. So and it costs about $500,000 to get through an approval process in New Jersey, plus the fees at the end. So you could spend close to $1 million on an approval in New Jersey. So you have outside agencies, you have the local, right? The town that has to approve the project. The area is zoned for a particular use, and then you could go for a use change, which is very challenging. So we try to just stick with the current use and work within the confines of the zoning. So you have those approvals. And then the outside agencies, depending on where the facility is located. If it's located on a state highway, you'll need the Department of Transportation's approval. If it's on a county road, you'll need the county approvals. You'll need the soil district approval. And you'll need the approval from the Department of Environmental Protection. So if your property is not affected by any wetlands or anything DEP related, then you just need a letter of no interest, right? Which will take 6 months. But you'll have to get a biologist to walk the site and confirm that there's really no plants or endangered species or turtles or anything like that on the site. And then you do that. If it's on a DOT highway, the state highway, then you're going to need to get a traffic engineer and understand the trip generations and what you're doing. And that could take 2 years. It's taken 2.5 years. That is the critical path. The DOT in New Jersey is the critical path to every project. And then if you have any airports located near you, you got to get the blessing from the FAA, which is pretty easy, but it's just one more outside agency. And if you're near any rails, any public transportation like New Jersey Transit, and we do have 2 projects going on with that right now, you have to notify the railroad. You got to be a certain distance away from it. If not, there's a process. I'm not too familiar with that because we don't do too much of it, but you have to notify the railroad and explain to them what you're doing and get a permit from them.
And so all of these things are in your first piece that we're talking about when you're doing your consulting agreement. This is all of the engineering. So first, you're getting all of these studies. So they're laying out the initial site plan. And then once they have that initial site plan, then they're going through all of the different agencies, getting one to approve, another to approve, another to approve. One will give you a comment, wait another month, wait another couple months, got to go back, work on the design more. And so these things can take a long time. And so you have to have an educated group alongside of you that knows how to get you through that process, or this process that might take you to what you say, 6 months, a year, 2 years. If someone doesn't have that you can go ahead and double that. And
they're not going to, they really need local people.
Yeah, you're not. So, this is, and then nothing's going to work. So now,
and all the stormwater management that goes with it, they changed the flood hazard regulations. They're changing the wetland, the DEP rules and regulations again. And you have to comply with all of that. Now, historically, you'd be able to put one basin at the end of a site on the slow side of the site and have all the water drain to that basin and then slowly drain out into the system. Now they don't want that anymore. So now you have to put multiple basins around the facility, and you have to make sure, you have to prove that through math and calculations that the engineers do, that water drains properly. And that runs $30 to $40 a square foot.
Right. And so this is the biggest challenge that I see. They make all of these things so unaffordable to do. You touch a building, you update a building. There are so many regulatory expenses that leaves very little for the consumer, the end user, to be able to really select what they want, because all of the money goes to all of the different regulations that someone has to fulfill and abide by. And then you're stuck with, trying to make the money work for the client while giving them something that they want. And that's the biggest challenge as I see in construction.
Well, when I'm talking to someone, and that's one of the first things I talk about is the site approval process. We don't give lump sum prices. We give budgets. We give, say, listen, this is what we think it's going to cost, and this is why, and it's based on this. If town folks come out to the hearing and you have 100 people or 50 people, even just one person contesting your project, you may have to go back. You may have to go back and back and back. And we've gone to some hearings 14 times. We've gotten denied by towns that the projects were as of right with no variances, and we're still denied. And
Wow.
we're in court now, you know. I mean, it's just very difficult in New Jersey. There's no guarantee that someone's going to get it approved, even if there's no variances, even if it's as of right. It's very risky. That's why the returns are big. If you can get a piece of land for $20 or $30 a foot and you get it approved, you'll spend $1 million, but you'll be able to triple the value of that land.
Yeah, now that is where the rubber meets the road on development and being able to make money. If you can understand and properly entitle property, you can create a ton of value because
Mhm.
then you can sell that off to someone and they can hit the ground running right then. They have all the parameters they need to abide by so they know what they're buying. It's a lot easier to sell the land because you could be buying a piece of land that doesn't have any of those approvals and it's don't know what it's worth. It's just
No, they
worth
change. I mean,
nothing. So
right.
it creates tons and tons of value to bring that. So that's amazing. So if people are in your area and wanted to, work with you, Sam, and Redcom, what is the best way to reach out to you?
They could find me on LinkedIn. I have a pretty active profile on LinkedIn, or they can call our office and ask for me.
Awesome. Well, I sincerely appreciate you coming on today. It's been very informative. I think it's been a lot of help. And I think if anybody's in the New Jersey area, you've definitely proven yourself to be as knowledgeable as possible. And so, looking to invest in that area and you're looking to do anything with automotive, expand your automotive grasp or, it sounds like you got a lot of industrial build out already going there, but you're going through land entitlement or looking for land for building multifamily. He'd be a great person to reach out to. Sam, I really appreciate you jumping on with us today. We've enjoyed having you and speaking with you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate being on a show, and thanks for taking the time out to meet with me.
Yes, sir. I hope you have a great day.
You
Thanks so
too.
much.
Bye.